Welcome back to another video. So over the years, I've had a lot of you asking me to review e-ink screen tablets or ebook readers. And this was sent out to me, my first e-ink screen tablet in the channel that I will be covering. And maybe it could actually be the last as well. So this one here is from a company called Onyx. It's the Boox Note Air. It is a 10.3-inch e-ink screen tablet, runs Android 10. And it has stylus support, active stylus support, 3 GB of RAM, 32 GB of storage, and as you'll see in this video, it can do, well, a lot more than your typical ebook reader could, but there are definitely quite a few catches. So inside the box, you will find a screen protector. So it is good they have included this. Here is the tablet. So this thing is incredibly thin. It is 5.8 millimeters only, the thickness. And here we have 2 pouches. So both of these pouches contain a little bit of paperwork, one of them, which is this one right here. As you can see, some paperwork there. And here we have our accessories in this one. So I'll just quickly show you what we've got. We have the active stylus, more on that later on in this video. And our power cable here, which is Type-C to USB. So it doesn't include a power brick within the box, but you just use your mobile phone's charger to charge this one here. It's very light, so it's only 428 grams. It is 5.8 millimeters, approximately the thickness, so it's very, very thin. Alloy back here, you can see some orange antenna lines, which do stand out a little bit. And our screen here, of course, being the e-ink, it's 10.3 inches, this one. A little bit of a bezel around the outside. Now, this screen isn't fully laminated, but I'll talk about that screen in detail in a little bit shortly. We have a space here on the sides where you can hold it, which is really quite good. And that means that your fingers are not getting in the way if you're going to be using the stylus on it too as well, which I will be covering in this video too. Frame around the outside, this is all metal too as well, and it does have a very good build to it and a good feel. So there are no ports along the top here. Down the bottom, there is also nothing. And on this side here, which is either the left side or the bottom, depending on how you look at it, if you're holding it in portrait or landscape, we have a button which is made out of metal with a status LED and a Type-C port there for charging. So charging will take just under 2 hours. It only has a 3000 milliamp hour battery in this particular tablet, so that's why it's probably so slim too as well. And it's a lot less than their other models, but some of their other models do have 4800. So what is missing is a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, none of that here, but we do have a speaker, and I'll give you a sample of that too in this video, and there is no micro SD card support with this either. So there is no 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, but it does support audio out via a adapter from 3.5 to Type-C, and it does have Bluetooth 5 support as well with this. So when the screen is off, it even says that it's powered off. This is displaying an image on it because of the screen being the e-ink tech. That's what it does, the image retention it has, and this is using no battery. So it's great. You can get an image on here and at the cost of 0 battery life. So tapping the power button here, I will just power this back up for you because it turns itself off in order to save the battery. And we'll take a detailed look here at our screen now. So this display is black and white only, of course. It's e-ink, and the resolution is 1872 by 1404. And they call it the Carta display here. The PPI is 227. So yes, when you look at it closely, you will see pixels. Now, unlike a lot of other ebooks out there, this does have a backlight on it. It's actually got 2 of them, so 2 different tones, and you're able to adjust that. So right now, it's just gone into the sleep mode. And you can see it's a little slow because these have a much slower refresh rate than a standard display. It's very, very slow. But up here, we've got the options for the display to set the different refresh rates at the cost of the sharpness of the display. So even having it on the normal mode, when you look at it closely, up very, very close, you will see tiny little pixels, individual pixels, but more so when you put it on, for example, the X mode here for something a little bit faster, like looking at websites or a video, then that even gets a little bit worse. It doesn't look as sharp than the screen. You can see now, look at that change that's already happened here. But for your ebooks, I would keep it, of course, just on that normal mode. Now, the brightness slider here, you can adjust this. So you can adjust the color temperature mix between it. So it can be used perfectly fine at night too, this one, and you can adjust it to your own preference there if you want more of a reddish tinge to it. That's not moving at all, that slider. There we go. Okay, it can be a little bit slow to react, and it's not really the touch response. It's more I find just the refresh rate delay that you get with the screen. So noticeable delay in all the actions and things when you move it around. Okay, that's me. It's not really a slider. It's more of a tap and hold. You can see that coming through there. One thing I've noticed too with the screen though is up close, you probably just see right here. I'll bring it up to the camera. That the display is matte, and yes, it does pick up the coating over the top of it, fingerprints, quite bad. And see how here with settings, it's right on the absolute edge there of the bezel of the border around the outside there, which is slight annoyance there. It's not too much of a problem, I think, but it's just one thing I noticed there too, that there should actually be a little bit more of a gap there with it. So you can hardly even see that gap between the display not being fully laminated. It's about half a millimeter, and it's very hard to see. It's only when you really have it outdoors, you might notice there's a bit of a shadow being cast from the bezel on the screen itself, because of course it's not fully laminated. But here is what the display looks like in direct sunlight. In fact, the brighter the light, the brighter the sun, it looks even whiter, and it's super clear. Very, very good. No reflections, and it is almost, this is the closest we're going to get to looking at a screen that's not real paper to give us the impression like it is. So in that regard, it is very, very good. Very comfortable on my eyes, reading it just like I would a paper book. And that's the whole purpose of course, the eInk screens. So this tablet is powered by a Snapdragon 636. It has 3 gigabytes of RAM and 32 gigabytes of storage, and you get a total of about 22 gigabytes free with this. Now it does support gestures. I'll just go to the recent apps here and bring that up to you. And you see that at the moment, this is after a fresh boot, we have approximately 1.4 gigabytes of RAM free, which for this type of tablet being basically, well, it is really just an ebook reader, that's ample, sufficient for this. And their performance of getting around in their custom UI that they have, really, they've got their own layout they've set up for this. So it's running Android 10, but they've got their own system and set up to this. So you can see our storage right here. We've got our notes. So I've just been doing a couple of test notes and testing those out. They have their own library here. So that's my library here with the books that I've just downloaded there, the sample ones. And then here in the store as well is where you can get a lot of different free books. And then apps, you can add your own apps. You can see with the scrolling right here, that delay that I was talking about before, the fact that this is a characteristic of these screens, that they don't have that refresh rate unless I was to put it onto, say, the X mode here, and then you would see that scrolling now becomes a bit smoother, but we have more of an image retention too. You can see just a little bit of a shadow, like ghosting effect left behind too with this. And using their quick toggles here, I am able to refresh the page, which would get rid of that. That can clear it out completely if it was at that point bothering you. But keeping it on that X mode, it really does affect the sharpness and the quality of this display. And you would probably be getting this tablet anyway for the eInk screen and the ebook reading capabilities. So you would keep it on that, I believe, most of the time there. So when you take a look at, let's have a look at some ebooks right here. This is where it is excellent, of course. Very, very good for that. And it looks great. You can read it in sunlight, and when you take a look at just swiping over, there was a little bit of a transition delay there. But again, at this kind of pace, at a reading pace, it's not going to be too problematic for people. And you can see down here our time, battery life, and we've got other little tools there, toggles too. Now, using the stylus, we are able to also take notes and go over this. Now, this particular stylus does have 496 pressure levels of sensitivity. And I do like the feel of it on the screen because we've got a matte screen, and the nib that they're using with this particular stylus, this is an active stylus, of course. This does not have a battery within it either that we need to worry about charging, but the nib makes it and gives it a bit of a feel, not quite like paper, but getting close. I think it's about the best we could probably get to simulate that kind of feeling that you would get it as well. So you're able to take notes and jot down on top of the ebooks, like an overlay over the top of it, which is rather handy if you needed that feature. Now, there is a flat end to the stylus. This end here is flat, and you can place it on the side right here. You can see it just magnetically is going to be held there in place. Not super stable, but that is one place where we can at least store away that stylus. And now the stylus performance. So if you wanted to take down a few notes, it's great that it does have this part on the side here that you're able to grip and hold onto. and that means that your hand's not going to get anywhere in the way too. So with their notepad, you've got a lot of different tools here you can see on the side, the eraser, your different tips and things. It's all pretty much straightforward. Text input too as well with this. It can be synced to a cloud, so you can save it offline. Don't have to worry about losing it all. And what I have done here too, in fact, I will do that from swiping down here with the typical Android toggles, although they have customized this to their own setup for the eInk screen to suit it, is touch input is enabled, but you can disable that as well. So that is giving us that palm rejection. So swiping up, that's not doing anything now until I go and enable that again, but I can just use the stylus for this. So just to demonstrate here, I'm just going to quickly draw, well, I'm going to just write here. Now this input is got a little bit of latency. You can see a tiny bit of lag. Excuse my messy writing. Hello world. And if I just do a little bit of a squiggle here, so pressing down very, very light, and then the harder I press, it creates then a thicker line, as you can see. But it's not amazing pressure sensitivity from it. So for jotting down notes, writing like this, I find it is decent. But remember, the price tag of this tablet, just under about, I think it's $500 US, is quite an ask considering there are other tablets out there with S Pen support and colored screens and much better performance latency. So it's quite a bit of a compromise for that with the stylus performance here. It's good if you are looking and you're in the market for an ebook that has these kind of features, having the stylus input. Most of them don't. It's good to have, but just bear in mind there are other tablets out there that of course can do that exact same thing with all those additional features and performance of a normal tablet. So we have various different applications, and they're just basic things, and that's all I would do with this type of screen would be basic kind of things, because to use this like a normal tablet, as I'll demonstrate now, is not really possible. I would strictly be just using this for ebooks, PDF files, for the occasional notes, things like that, jotting it down. So Playbooks, you can install that. Google Play support is on this tablet. It's there. It does take a little while to set up, and you have to wait a bit and then reboot the tablet to get it to work, and a few workarounds there. But it can run on this particular tablet, and Amazon Kindle there, emails and things like that can be set up. So Neo browser is the browser they use by default. You can see that it's a little slow to react. Again, with the type of screen it is, the low refresh rate, the image retention, the ghosting and things we have, it's not going to be an amazing experience, but at least as an ebook reader, which is what I'm basing this video off, this just being an ebook reader, we can actually do this. So I'll type in here my website if I haven't already brought that up. So I just quickly search this, and you'll see even now that with the keyboard, there is again a little bit of a delay there. So just searching TechTablets. This has come up now with Google. Okay, and you can see scrolling there, look at how choppy that feels and slow because of the refresh rate of the screen. That's a normal mode. And in X mode, again, I'll show you that it's, well, here it's not really making too much of a difference, even though we have enough RAM to be running a browser just fine in a Snapdragon 636. So if I take it, well, I'll keep it on that, but I'll just show you what, if you decided to look at a video, here's one of my videos here. And it should come up with Twitter. Okay, we're going to YouTube. And you'll see that just watching a video on this is pretty much impossible because, well, look how choppy it is. I mean, you can do it, but it looks like something from, I don't know, the 1920s. How slow that is, and of course the quality. Now, if I change again that refresh rate back onto the normal mode, you see then with videos, it becomes even worse. It starts to flash away and looking even more choppier there. So I wouldn't be using this tablet for these kind of normal tablet things. Strictly really as an ebook reader is what this is best at. And now for a sample of the single loudspeaker it has on this. It's not actually too bad. It does have good, decent volume to it. And there is a microphone too on this side. It's just sad that there is no 3.5mm headphone jack, but you can use Bluetooth with this as well. But let's have a listen to that speaker at 100% volume. Now, in my typical tablet reviews, I would show you things like gaming performance and go into depth with a lot of different applications, but really there is no point with this particular one because outside of just your basic static images or things like websites and well, the ebooks and PDF files, that is really all this tablet for me is good at because of the limitations of this type of screen. A great screen, don't get me wrong here, a great screen to look at for ebooks, and in bright sunlight you can read it and it looks great, very comfortable on my eyes. And then we do have the stylus support. So yes, it can do a lot more than say a typical normal eInk tablet or your Kindle or something like that, a lot more than that, and we do have the Android support. Now, Google Play Store does take a little while to set up. You have to just do a couple of little workarounds with it, but it will eventually get up and running Google Play on this, and you can install various different other applications, but I wouldn't really, myself, I wouldn't be using those. And that's where it comes to one of the biggest cons for me for this, that I just assumed being an eInk screen, that the battery life on this would be amazing, but it's such a slim tablet, a slim reader here. They've cut the battery life down a lot, also because it has the backlight on here, okay? So the backlighting on this means we can look at it in the dark. You can see it in dim lit environments and use it, and that really takes a huge impact on the battery life, because I would have thought it would go for days, or we could even be talking about a week of battery life, but no, it's more like a day or so. So my use just with the backlights on this is, and looking and reading a book, going through one of my ebooks, ebook on there, it's going to only last for about, well, I've worked out possibly about 10 hours of that kind of use. So for some people, you might not make it through a full day. Now you can turn the backlighting off, and then you'll get an additional battery life that maybe will bring you up to 2 days or so. But that is quite disappointing, considering it's got the eInk screen, which really just sips power, doesn't really use it at all. It should have gone with a larger battery capacity, and then we would actually be talking about days of battery life. And then the price tag. For what this sells for, it's, I believe, about under $500 US what they're selling it for. For that price, you can get a normal Android tablet. They would have Android 10, you can play games on it. It could even have quad speakers, a fully laminated AMOLED display that is super bright and just really good experience, and even stylus support with some of those tablets as well for the exact same price. So really, I don't know where the market for this is. I guess for people that needed the stylus support and needed just a little bit more than an ebook reader, and you wanted the other application support, but you're sacrificing on that performance so much running those other apps outside of just ebooks and PDF files, really because of the performance of the screen. And even putting it on the faster refresh rate, it doesn't then look so great, the screen. It looks a lot more pixelated, the images aren't as sharp, and I wouldn't actually use it. You're not gaining too much, as you saw there from my video sample. And of course, it doesn't have 3.5mm support, no expandable storage. That would have been great if they were aiming for just offering a lot more, then they should have put that on there, especially considering, again, the price tag there. So that's my review there of the Onyx Boox Note Air. Thank you so much for watching.